Founders, welcome back to the 0 to 5,000 podcast, where we obsess over the convergence of human potential and business results. Today, our hosts Drew McClure and Jordan Mitchell have another insightful conversation for you. So let's jump right in.
All right, founders, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with Gil Mayron, the CEO and founder of Cobot Nation, architects of automation. Gil is a pioneer of the consumer 3D printing industry as the founder and CEO of BotMill 3D, which manufactured and sold the first fully assembled consumer 3D printers. BotMill was acquired by 3D Systems Corp. Mr. Mayron continued to lead corporate development strategies for the consumer division at 3D Systems. He composed the first ever licensing deals involving 3D printing with Sony, Viacom, NBA, DreamWorks, and many others. Here to tell us his story is Gil. So Gil, thank you for being here, my new friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So funny. Somehow my team wrote Mr. Mayron in that in that intro. It just sounded like you're my teacher or something.
That, yeah. So, I taught a class once, and they called me that for a little bit. You know.
Yeah. That's the first time we've done that, so I just rolled with it while I was reading it. Well, man, tell us how in the world did you get into this interesting industry?
So, as far as automation or 3D printing?
Either. Tell us what's relevant to your story to what you're doing today.
Yeah, no. So I'll give a quick rundown for the 3D printing stuff, the enthusiasts out there. So I got started by my older brother was at a university in Boca Raton, Florida, and they had something going on there where somehow the word 3D printer came up to me. I think he had something there. He spoke with my dad. My dad told me, and then I went and put my Google alerts. And within a few weeks, RepRap project was made, and so REP, and that is the open source 3D printer that was made by a guy by the name of Adrian Bauer. He's a professor in Austria, and so when that came out, I contacted him immediately. It was very clear that these are all kits. You have MakerBot out there making a kit. They just opened their company doors at that time. And it was pretty clear that, if somebody can make this fully assembled, everybody's having problems putting it together. Just make it fully assembled, you're good to go. At the time, I think the printer had 1,800 moving parts, like nuts, bolts, everything, a lot of Loctite glue. I don't think a single one ever shipped in a good fashion. It would be very difficult to do. But with that being said, we racked up a huge backlog of orders. And it was very difficult. I was in my mid-20s at the time, and you don't really know much about the world and business and things like that. So a big backlog of orders can actually hurt you in many, many ways if you can't handle it. And so lucky enough, I got in contact with the chief marketing officer of 3D Systems, Kathy Lewis. She put me in touch with Abe Reichenthal, who was the CEO at the time of 3D Systems. Had one conversation with him. He said to me, "What do you want, an investment or an acquisition?" I wanted to rid my hands. Because I was like, oh my God, dude, every day is getting complaints because they didn't get it shipped out. And he didn't want me to get out of it. He said, no, if I buy you, you come with me. Okay. So they bought the company and I moved over to North Carolina, stayed there for roughly about 4 years. I did corporate development for the consumer division, which was a brand new division in 3D printing period. And over there, we did a lot of really unique deals. And it really opened up my eyes to some really interesting things that could be done. With interesting types of deal making. And so some of those deals were actually licensing deals, but these were licensing deals based off of like acquisitions that we made. Or maybe he got some sort of IP. It's a program that can take a picture of the front of your face, the side of your face, and then meshes the whole thing together. And then I can make a licensing deal with Star Trek, and we can go and put you on a Star Trek with CBS and put you on a Star Trek figurine. You can design it online, whatever, and it gets shipped to you. But at the time, the printer that was doing that, it was the only full color printer originally made by a company called Z Corp, and then 3D Systems acquired them. And that printer printed out of a material gypsum powder. So it was very frail. And so all those figurines, you take it out of the box and you flick it and the head pops off. So it's that. And now though, at Cobot Nation, we have an HP multi-jet fusion printer. And we have the only full color printer that prints with fully dense nylon. So it's a complete opposite of whatever that was. And so, so it's interesting how things kind of advance over time. But with that, I left 3D Systems. I think it was 2014. I went off to a company called Graphene 3D Labs. They did the first conductive material in 3D printing. So you could take a battery, a light bulb, print something in between, and then the light bulbs light up, right? And that was interesting. Did that for about a year. Moved my family over to Vegas. And there's a few reasons for that. One is there's no state income tax. So that's a
plus.
good reason to be there, especially if you're an entrepreneur. But in Vegas, once I ran out of the 3D systems, like non-compete, all that kind of stuff, I was able to start to look into the automation. And in 3D printing, it's inherently slow. And so the only thing you can really do to speed it up is automation. You only have so many methods of printing. Okay? You have a chemical method, you have a heat method, pretty much everything is heat. But at the end of the day, that's it. It's done. They're trying to put faster motors, but then you lose something on the other end. Who cares? Automation, though, in between that, any of the handling, all that kind of stuff, it adds a lot at the end of a year or 10 years, whatever, it adds a lot. So that is the main point. Automation was very apparent to me back then, but for different reasons than everybody else thinks. I didn't think about humans at all at that time. Now I do. So it's, well, to a degree, I have to be harsh in some areas. But with that, though, it was very clear that there was something there. You had Universal Robots. They came out with but now I'm going into the automation side of things now, by the way. So Universal Robots, they're the first ones that came out with what's called not the originators of the Cobot, but they're the first ones who marketed it out, who made a company with it. And so Universal Robots is one of the largest Cobot manufacturers out there. And I believe the founder of it is the one who made the original joint. So it's a 6-axis robot, and you have these joints in it. And these joints move around in a certain way. And I believe that was his PhD project in university. I could be wrong, somebody will correct me, but I think I'm right. It's pretty sure I'm right. And so Universal Robots, I think they sold to Teledyne. So now they're part of a very large company. They're very small in there. And with that being said, I did a lot of research in roughly about 2018, and we incorporated the company about 2.5 years ago. And so in 2018, I signed up as a UR reseller. I had my engineer go through their program. And also keep in mind, I come from also capital equipment and 3D printing, where we're introducing new technology, but at $500,000, $1 million, it's very, it's a very long process to get somebody to buy that. But with that, we were able to figure out that the way that it's being done today, the way that people are doing the business of automation is completely wrong. The cobots that are being sold, all the other ones but us, they want the customer to do the majority of the work. We make it so easy that you can program it yourself. That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, it's you go to the facilities that we go to. We just installed let's see what I can say. We just installed an application at probably one of the world's biggest slaughterhouses. Wow. I mean, it's in Colorado in the U.S. So it's we're doing things where there's no way on earth that these customers, even the largest ones, and all of our customers are the largest within the industries that they serve. And the reason for it is because we're the only ones that scale with them. They go directly to us. We go directly to them. There's no reseller. There's no integrator. We don't allow them to do installation. We don't allow them to touch anything. They don't even need to do programming. We do it all, and we also support it 24/7. And so this is why we're a fast, whatever you want, what do you want to call it? Don't want to jinx it though, right? But with it, it was very apparent that the business model was one that needed to be shooken up. In 3D printing, in the later stages of 3D printing, in the last 5-10 years, you had some of the companies that went public are the ones that started with going to the biggest customers. Why did they do that? Because all the other companies already went to them and already went to the resellers, like the 3D Systems of the world and Stratus. They already went to the resellers, and the resellers don't want to deal with the new company. So the new company has to go direct to the customer. And who are they going to go? They're going to go to the biggest one. So it's very interesting how that worked out. And these companies now, Mark Forge is one, Desktop Metal is one. They're public now. They're major forces out there. They can compete against the 3D Systems and the Stratasys now, which is really interesting to me. So with that, you take that over to automation. All of the automation companies, they all deal through a value-added reseller model. They all go through resellers. The resellers go through integrators. Some of them have their own engineers, but not really. Usually they just find a local firm that's going to do the installation of the cobot. But by that time, the integrator is 2 degrees from the manufacturer. So it's so disjointed. And if you're one of our customers and you have 150 facilities around the world, how are you going to guarantee that you have the same exact, structure, pricing, support, in wherever it is, the Middle East, as you do in the US? It's impossible. And in fact, with all of these companies out there, except for us, the way that they structure their resellers and integrators, you're kind of bound to like a state. So if you want to go to another state, totally different reseller, different integrator, and so on and so forth. And so the opportunity was there, and it's not an easy one. I mean, we make our own hardware, we design everything. All our engineers are hired full time. They're all degree mechanical engineers. This is a very intense thing to take on and extremely risky. There's a reason why nobody else ever did it this way, right? But we're proving now it's being successful, and we know that the numbers that we're going to hit are larger than the numbers that others have hit cumulatively, across a large span of smaller customers, because they've ignored the big guys. They thought that by us marketing to the smaller guys, a larger subset, somehow that is going to be, more beneficial to us, right? We're going to get more numbers out of it. Well, they didn't do their math. They didn't do the work. They didn't look at the big companies. So how many facilities? And they have 3,000 people per facility, and we can get rid of 2,000 of them with automation. Yeah. And by the way, I just want to point out last thing, and then is with automation. What we're seeing right now, the customer, when they come to us, it's no longer even scared about talking about automation. They talk about it in front of the employees. They're very brash about it. Every single one of our customers, if they can automate fully from start to finish, they would do it yesterday. That is how badly they want it. When they have a competitor that does automation and they haven't even started, they're at least 2.5 years behind.
Okay, well, we've got several things to talk about here. So just my mind has been slowly wrapping around this, because typically when I'm talking to people about automation, the world I'm in would be like software automation, right? Like kind of digital things that help your systems and processes move faster. You're talking about like manufacturing, fabrication, things like that, correct?
That's right. We're talking about core processes in some of the largest companies. It's the manufacturing. It's the gritty industrial arcade. That's what we're doing.
Interesting. Okay. So with the universal robot, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I can tell you whatever you want, but I have my own. So my own, we make our robots, and we also use suppliers that sell us components and stuff to make certain robots. But we make all of our bowl feeders, indexing systems. I mean, if we need to make conveyors, we make the entire solution for the customer. So and it includes.
So they're like, we need a solution for this, and you might go custom fabricate a robot or something like that to be able to do that.
Yeah, and there's nowhere for them to really go. Who are you going to contact? A local engineering firm? They may not have the knowledge. So, but with that, we also believe that the definition of the Cobot, which is why we call ourselves Cobot Nation, again, we make conveyors. Those are cobots, and there's a reason for that. Everything that we make, so the industrial robotic companies, if they make something, it's usually bolted to the floor. It's probably going to be there forever. You cannot have a human next to it at all. The stuff that we make is meant to be around humans. And these are these could be robots holding knives, and it's still meant to be around a human. We still take everything into consideration. We have a lot of light curtains, a lot of sensors. But all of that stuff, everything we make is meant to not disrupt the customer's line. So if we're working with a big automotive company, and they're only down 2 weeks out of the year just for maintenance, they cannot be down any other time. And so if something breaks with us, we need to make sure that we have the ability for them to put a natural process in. And the other companies do not do that. They bring salespeople that try to conform to a certain product. So,
well, I know that you have probably a vast line of products. So this
all unique. Yeah. We don't market any individual product. It's for us, it doesn't make sense. We everything is unique to the customer.
So when we're saying robots, though, like, are we mostly talking about like a thing on an arm that can do things, or are we talking about like what you picture in sci-fi, like you're making like robots that walk around the factory and do things?
No, we have made robots that walk around the factory, and that would be awesome, by the way. We need to do that. That's a good suggestion. I'll put it in the works.
There we go.
but no, we're doing a lot of the the repetitive stuff that a human does, where there's not a lot of thought into it. That's the stuff we're taking on first. Yeah. We do a lot of stuff with AI and deep learning, all that kind of stuff, no problem. But the repetitive stuff is what we're taking on immediately right now. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, that, I heard, there's been a lot of conversation over the last decade around the coming of automation, the coming of replacing of jobs and that type of thing. And, where most people pointed is like, hey, the most obvious place this is going to enter is anywhere where there's a repeatable process. A plus B just always equals C, And that as a human, the most valuable thing that you can continue to have is the ability to solve creative problems, things that aren't A plus B equals C, relationships, stuff like that, right? When you say these companies have no problem talking about that in front of their employees, how are they managing that fear, or like the assumption that like, well, that means I'm out of a job?
Well, I think it's a perceived fear because even when they say it in front of an employee, the employee knows that that customer doesn't have any robots yet, and so it's going to be a little while before they see something, even if it's a year or two, doesn't matter. But it's I don't think people have the kind of fear yet that they should. And what I mean by that is the following: with the customers we deal with, they have a lot of repeats. So you might be working intensely for a year on an application, but then they might have 1,000 of them across the whole span. I don't think people realize that if I go into a facility with 4,000 people, 3,500 are going. It's the
Wow.
majority of people are going to be going, and it just is what it is. It's when you put robotics, when you put automation in there, you're making it safer for the humans around. So that's number one. Okay, so we are making it safer for everybody, but at the same time, you're making a better product. You're making a more consistent product. You're making a product where that manufacturer can now drop the price because they can do anything they want to do, and that is we're seeing that across the board, and that's going to lead to a lot of really interesting concepts and future things. Probably one's going to be really big is going to be a lot of mass customization. So the ability to do,
Hmm.
10,000 of one, which would sell for the same price. Now you do 10,000 unique selling for the same price. And I think you'll see a
Yeah.
lot of that come up.
How do you feel? Or do you feel optimistic, like from the human side, right? Like obviously we're optimistic on the business side, the margins that we can save, the quality that we can consistently put out, that kind of thing. But like, are you optimistic that this? I know this is outside of your business, right? There's almost philosophy, but like, do you imagine like it'll create new jobs in a different way?
No, no, no. We encounter this. We encounter the conversations of humans losing their job. In fact, yesterday we had a call with a customer where it was actually very eye opening because we have these talks with some customers, but it was interesting to hear a customer say this to us. Gil, if we automate and we do this right, the more we automate, great. We're going to keep giving these employees raises. We're going to keep raising. We're going to do whatever we can. That is so important because we also have customers where we want to automate and we do not want to change the minimum wage. We don't want to do anything there. Well, why not? What do you just got rid of 3,000 people. What are you doing? So you can tell you have a little bit of a battle out there, but it's refreshing when you have ones that do come to their senses.
What does that mean? Like, what practically, what are they going to do if they come to their senses? Are they keeping those 3,000 people and putting them to different
Nope,
use?
nope, nope. There's no use for them. But the ones that remain, you better retain them, and
I see.
they must be very special. But look, let me also put something into perspective here. In manufacturing, the kind of people that are working these jobs with the places that we go to, and I've been to every place around the U.S. It's a different age group most of the time. It's an older age group most of the time here now because all the younger people, they like apps and things like that. Not many people want to go and work in a textile factory. Straight. It's just not the most inviting thing these days. You have a lot of opportunity out there with other stuff, and so there's one way to think about it. The assumptive, if you don't know enough, but once you know really what's going on there, it's absolutely needed. You need the automation. If you don't, the world's not turning.
Hmm.
Somebody's got to do it. So,
What would you suggest to somebody if they were listening and they're like, that's been my career, and in 5 years, somebody is going to replace me, a machine's going to replace me? What encouragement would you give to them about their career?
well, first off, I would tell them it's going to be a lot sooner than 5 years.
Okay.
100% a lot sooner.
Okay.
These customers are so dead set on going as fast as they possibly can, and they're going to figure it out. They will. At the same time, look, you can give all the generic answers. Oh, go and train for this, go and train for that. I'm not sure that is even the answer here. I think you have so many people displaced, so many. You don't have retraining for all these people. And I think that the governments are going to have to figure something out, no matter what side of the aisle it's in.
Yeah.
So it's something that's going to have to get figured out.
So from your perspective, you think we are going to go to a place where it's not going to just naturally correct itself, that we probably will have a large percentage of people not knowing what to do with themselves?
Well, I mean, the question becomes how long are they gonna how long are they gonna be around for? I don't know
Yeah.
because things always melt into things naturally. So you will have some that will get trained. You will have some that just do nothing. You'll have some that it just is what it is.
Mm.
So, but I can't sit around and think about that side of things too much when my job is to go out there and automate manufacturing. It just there's a person there, maybe there isn't. It's
Yeah.
I'm making a robot, I'm doing what I have to do. But again, we always encourage the customer, if you're doing this, what are you doing for the employees that are there? You can't help it if the employees go. It's been going on for, by the way, decades, hundred. This is what happens everywhere.
Right.
So it's not just a unique thing. Automation it's been going on for a very long time.
I think that's what the debate has been interesting about is this just another thing in the long line of automation, or is it that groundbreaking that it's different than when we got the first horse-drawn carriage and how that changed things when we,
Yeah, I can tell you that what we're doing here is 100% groundbreaking. The customers we have, we are going to automate the majority of their manufacturing lines, and this is going to be something that people have never seen, that kind of a growth out there.
yeah, like a
These are
massive
deals that
shift.
we've never seen deals this large before.
What excites you most about, even beyond efficiency and things like that? Like, what excites you most about the types of work you might be able to do, you're doing, or might be able to do in the future?
Well, we get to see really interesting things. The slaughterhouse, from start to finish, whatever that means to you. We got to see the whole thing,
Yeah.
from start. Here's the cow, and all the way to here, packaged up, and everything in between. And I'll just put it this way: there's not one thing in there that we probably cannot automate. In time, we can automate everything.
Hmm.
You have very few companies in the world that have. Some people call it lights out manufacturing. We call it hands free manufacturing, where you have one person in the facility, or you have very minimal people, right? And the whole thing is really just completely automated. A pretty good example of that may be like Invisalign, those clear retainers, things like that. I'm pretty sure they have a very good system in place. I don't know for sure, but I think so. But things like that. It's really still unique stuff. You're going to see a lot more of that, and you'll see such disruption. If a dry cleaner comes out with a fully automated system, that will take out the biggest guys in the world in such a short period of time. And they won't be able to conform their business. They're publicly traded. They can't tell them, we're going to change this right now overnight. You're going to see stuff happen. It's
Is
going
that
to
going to
happen
bring
real
the
fast.
cost of goods dramatically down potentially?
I think the cost of goods are going to go down, not dramatically, because when I look at it, you just the process. It's a lot of benefit to the person that owns that company, but at the same time, you're not really doing much with the materials, and still you raise that volume of what they're doing, right? That's really where you get the discount in. So I don't know how much of an effect it has on it. I mean, once that gets better, yes, it will, but that's assuming that all these customers, go like ape wild with products and stuff like that, which I don't know will be the case. So
Yeah. Do you imagine that your particular company or your work in the future would ever go into like household type stuff, or would it stay in the kind of commercial manufacturing type deal?
Well, right now we want to concentrate solely on manufacturing, and
Right.
that could be service manufacturing. It could be product manufacturing. There's a lot of different types of manufacturing, and we'll stick with that for a while, because our track is we don't just do the hardware. We're doing software too. So we have dashboards and things like that. We can take virtually every input on the floor and make a dashboard out of it, which is something that these customers have never had before. It's a
Hmm.
line of preventative maintenance for them, because now you see if something's on or off, and so on and so forth. So we're doing things out there that are a little bit different. Yeah, but I strayed away from your question. So
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'm just playing sci-fi right now. I feel like I'm talking to somebody on the cutting edge, and so I'm like, "Hey, what are you going to do with my house? Can we automate the folding of my clothes?" My
no,
wife
that
hates
it's.
that.
I think we're a long way from the house automation,
The
but I
Jetsons.
think in regards to the most the things that we use every day, you're going to see them start to have a perfection that you haven't seen before. And the question, does that lower the price? I think you'll see consolidation in all of those areas. So, if you're a laptop manufacturer and you have 10,000 of them, you're going to get down to 200. So,
Yeah. Does anything scare you about the idea of AI, machine learning, any of that kind of stuff, or not
yeah.
really?
So we do a lot with AI. We do a lot with machine learning. Um, and it depends, some of it's actually really easy stuff, like a heat map or something, it's whatever. But other stuff, you also realize it's going to be really difficult to do. If I were in a baseball field, um, and there's 1,000 guys all wearing hats, it's really difficult for the computer to figure certain things out there, because you have nothing to look at. But at the same time, if the computer has any, or the vision system, we use a lot of vision systems here, has anything to look at, we can do so much with it now. We can do a perfection on the. We can differentiate between diamonds sometimes. I mean, it's that good.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you can do speed at such high rates. So things are going to be interesting, and these are rates that are way faster than the human, way faster,
Mm,
and it thinks way faster.
yeah, yeah. For you, just if we step back to being a business owner and more particularly being somewhat of a disruptor, right? Like coming in where there's some established companies and they're doing a certain way and you're disrupting how they're doing it, who they're marketing to. What have you learned about leading that kind of a business, like a disruptive business?
Well, first off, I'm definitely a little crazy. No, I don't know anybody else who would take these things on. I mean, the grind never stops, but it's a good one. You get to look back and you had a little mark there. You were able to do something. And so for me, it's not really about that. It's more about progressing the landscape. There's certain things that I saw in my past where, somebody may acquire somebody, they may table a product because they have too much of their product out there. And so the public doesn't know, and it's a much better product. I will never do something like that. It's, you have it, go get it done, move ahead. And also, a lot of these manufacturers, the ones that we work with, they've been searching for like 20 years for these solutions. And if we didn't come along, they could be searching for another 20 years for these solutions. So at some point, it's got to get done. I mean, if people want to follow Elon and then go to Mars, you're going to have to do this stuff. You're going to have to. It's going to have to get done. So
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think are the key ingredients to successfully disrupting an industry?
uh, I think that I got really smart within the area that I'm in. But in spotting these opportunities, it's really just like a common sense thing.
Hmm.
Here's how it's being done. Here are the customers. Why are these customers getting handled? In 3D printing, it was like, the consumer wanted a 3D printer. They can only get kits. Well, just make it fully assembled, make it easy for them. Like let's go. And the same thing was over here. The largest companies, they want automation, but
Yeah.
they're not going to buy something where they have to hire another technician, just to figure out how to program it. And the manufacturer's telling you it's so easy, and it's not. And not only that, that's just the arm. You have the end of arm tool. You have the indexing system that puts the product in place to go to the arm. And by the way, just another side note on that. Typically, the argument is, well, if a robot takes my job, then I will be assisting the robot. That is beyond depressing. If a robot takes your job and you're going to be indexing for the robot, that's no,
That's not exciting.
no, don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what it sounds like is, or what I imagine is a difficulty for other people to innovate is when you get so used to the way things are done. Like this is just how we do it. We don't ever question it. We do it this way. We do it that way. That sometimes all it takes is backing up a few feet and saying why. Like, why are
Yeah.
we doing it that way? Is that part of
Well,
where you find the obvious innovation areas?
Well, you also notice certain things, for example, like in a company, well, I'm not going to give UR as the example, but, in a company, you do have a life cycle of the way that things go. And every company is different, but there's ways to recognize certain things. So, for example, like you could recognize that if a company is doing acquisitions of companies just to get sales, they're probably going downhill. That it's enough. They're gone. If they're
Hmm.
doing acquisitions because they need to get talent, they're probably still in pretty good shape. If they're doing acquisitions because they need to get IP, maybe they're going to get to the point of doing the sales one. And so, you just start to notice these things in time, and with that, you can start to recognize here's an industry where you bring some order to chaos, and you got yourself a nice disruption. So,
Yeah.
or you bring chaos to order. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you? Where are you currently experiencing the most challenge right now leading this business?
oh wow! So everything we're doing for the customer, even though it says Cobot here, everything is bespoke. Everything is completely unique. The CAD that we do is just incredibly intense. Then when it comes down to installing it, you find out so many different things. The operator was changing the speed of the conveyor by themselves. Somebody's going to slap it every day. At the meat processing plant, it's probably going to get stabbed. Who knows? And so or water
Yeah.
goes into it. So you learn certain things, but we're the first to do it. So we're happy to take on this challenge because we'll be way ahead of everybody else. So we've been doing this now for incorporated for 2.5 years with no competition doing it this way because they can't. So we're
Mm.
very far ahead now. It'd be very difficult to take on all of that stuff in one.
Yeah.
But maybe they can. Who knows? I'll take it on.
Typically, I've heard that anything bespoke is inherently difficult to scale because everything is unique. How do you think about that?
Well, the way that I thought about it with this was, okay, so you do the first application, and then you have 150 facilities with 10 in each. Who cares? So it's you do it, and they're extremely difficult. Even the ones that look easy are like the most difficult. But you do it because with the customers we're dealing with, they are the largest within their industry. So the meat processor is the largest meat processor in the world. The corrugated pipe manufacturer, they're the largest. The carpet recycler, apparently he's the largest carpet recycler in the world. So and
Yeah.
that's the reason. But so there's something out there to be said for, they can't find it. You need to do it for them, and if you do it, here's what the reward is. So,
Got it. So the slow part, in a sense, is the initial customization for that company, but because they're
it's
so
got to be perfect.
large,
Yeah,
it then can be replicated pretty
exactly.
easily
And before you
for that
replicate
company.
it, you're going to take as much time as you need to make that first one as perfect as possible.
Mm,
And then you can go absolutely nuts with repeats as fast
okay.
as possible. And that scale is really fast because there's an immense amount of capital for a guaranteed scale like that. So
Yeah,
it's
that makes
they're going
sense.
to go as fast as humanly possible.
Interesting. What has it been like to assemble the team and to grow the company internally to be able to do all the
Yeah,
things you're doing?
not easy. I mean, look, we had a first set of engineers, and that didn't work out. And now we have a new set of engineers. We picked the best of the best. We know what we're looking for now, right? So at the beginning of the company, maybe you think you know what you're looking for because I came from 3D printing, and that's what I had there.
Yeah.
Completely wrong. It seemed completely logical, totally wrong. We know what we're looking for now. We know the kind of employees that we want. We know what we need. It takes time to get there. For us,
Yeah.
it took probably about a year before we found the right team. A little more than a year and a half. The right team, and then even with that, a lot of training that needs to happen. What we're doing here, I don't expect anybody to understand. So every employee that comes in, they have to be trained. This is what we do. This is why the competition doesn't do it. This is why we will never hire somebody from the competition, no matter what it does to us, because they're going to brainwash us in time.
Hmm. Okay, so if you could be a little more specific without having to, I don't know,
Sure.
call anyone out, but just for me, I have a lot of founders listening who are also in the process of hiring their first teams and might be making similar mistakes. As an example, like what was the difference in how you thought with the first group of engineers versus, what we actually need is this?
Sure. So, well, first off, it's also to the degree of what we want an engineer to do now. Our engineers take the project from there are salespeople. We don't have any salespeople here. I'm the salesperson here. So
Right.
the engineers, they're the ones that go to the on-sites. They're the ones that, and it's refreshing for the customer because the customer is not dealing with a salesperson. They're dealing with somebody that just cares about the automation solution. So with that being said, the kind of things that we look out for, the kind of things that are problems really only came up as we were working on the customer projects. As we were working on the projects, you start to notice that maybe this guy can't execute on this. Is he kicking the can down the road? What is going on here? So and then you start to, as you hire other people, you can see the little bit of the difference, right? It's not that you're trying to be mean. It's you have to make your company efficient. It's got to be a
Best fit.
well-oiled machine, or you can't
Yeah.
scale. So and so, as long as you're aware, you'll see these differences, and you'll make a change, right? And the question becomes, if you're a founder, do you have the gumption? Do you have the balls to make that change? Many people don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I would also imagine being in a technical industry, yet you still have to do customer relationships.
Yeah,
That's a tough thing to find people that can do both.
Yeah,
right?
We find engineers who can talk. That's what we test them for in interviews, and we're very upfront with them. You will be doing X amount percentage of customer relations, but it's very important. They're the ones working on the project. They give updates to the customers probably sometimes every day, but most of the time it's once a week, a main update, and the customer loves it because they know they can just call. They're working on the project. Many times you go and if you want to go to the competitor, great. You're not going to know if they're working on you or not. It's they're probably just going to ship something out. So,
what's the most difficult thing for you just leading people?
Well, that number one in general. Keeping people motivated. That's one.
Yeah.
It almost seems like there's nothing. You can give them the world, everything they ask. It'll live for a day, and somehow it's just not good enough, right? And so it's keeping them enthused, keeping them invigorated about your startup, and keep in mind you're like us, 2 years in, right? These people, they have no right to be enthused. You got to figure it out. You got to keep it going. That's why I'm so energetic. I have no choice. I get extremely tired at night. So it's true. But I've trained myself. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. Nobody will care more about the company than the founder. Even if you have somebody that comes in that cares for a week, great. Nobody will care more than the founder.
Yeah. So how do you translate that? Is it the conversation of extrinsic motivators versus intrinsic? And
Well, I
what?
mean, look, you have a give and take. I don't consider myself a good manager, but I have a team around me. I have a COO, I have a director of operations. So I have a team around me that handles a lot of that effort.
Yeah.
But it started with me. I handled all until you could put things into a certain place. But you have to recognize what you're good and not good at. I'm good at selling the dream. I
Yeah.
can make this happen. I'm good at pushing something through to the finish line, motivating them to get it done, and finding out that that's possible. So let's get it done. Um, but managing out the whole thing, maybe I'm not the best. Maybe I shouldn't be the best.
Yeah.
So that's
And you
another
don't
thing.
have to be.
For about the first who knows 5 or 10 years, I was under the impression that I need to know everything. I need to be the best at everything. It took a long time for me to understand that you got to let go. You got to let
Yeah.
the people you hire do what they need to do. So, and that's not easy for a founder.
It's kind of freeing once you get over the emotional fear, which I know there's always emotional fear of.
Fear in general in business, it's non-existent. I can't stand it when people have fear.
Yeah. But I would say from my work so outside of the podcast, I do work with fast growing companies on the people side, on the leadership, on the
Nice.
development, that kind of thing. And typically it comes down to fear when someone knows they need to delegate something that they've been doing. And the fear could be they're not going to do it as well as me. We're going to lose quality, whatever it is. Right. But it's not logical, meaning it's not the actual X's and O's. It's more the
Yeah,
emotional
nobody's gonna
feeling of
punch you. Right.
control. Right.
Right.
Was that difficult for you the first time turning over some of those things or no?
I recognized really early on that is a thing you just need to have.
Hmm.
And also, my father had businesses and stuff. I just kind of, he was the kind of guy, if it needs to be done, just do it. And so, and you learn in time how to have conversations, how to do certain things. But at the end of the day, if you want a successful company, it needs to be a well-oiled machine, and you will never get there if you just have people cruising along and you know that they shouldn't be the right people. It's crazy. If you were an outsider looking in, you would say, "What are you doing?"
Mm.
And so, it's very important to be able to have that gumption, that frankness,
Mm.
the honesty, the awareness, in order to move something forward, and it will never end. So you got to get comfortable with it. Yeah.
Especially when you're the choke point, right?
Oh yeah.
At some
Yeah.
point where
Your last line. Yeah.
it's like, oh, every decision has to come through me. Well, the bigger the company gets, that is extremely slow, right?
That's right. That's right. It's completely illogical too. And not only that, I wouldn't want to do. That's crazy. It's I'd be working nonstop. I'd never be able to enjoy anything. So yeah.
Yeah. What does balance look like for you right now in life? Is there,
Well, lately, the last 6 months, there's no balance. But that's also because we're just in the thick of things, right? And it may go on for a long time. Who knows? But balance for me, yeah, it could be going hiking. It could be playing tennis. It could be going with my wife to dinners and stuff. It's have a life,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you might have a customer, you have to be there at 5 a.m. for a week straight. You do what you got to do, play hard and all that kind of stuff. So it just is what it is, But you got to have a life. You can't just be stuck in one thing because you think that's what's going to make it successful.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell somebody to just walk away for a second. It's
Yeah, there's a fluidity to it. The more I've been a part of this conversation, we all want the one fix. Let me just
that's
do
right.
this. My schedule will always look like this, and but life doesn't work that way. There's seasons where the business actually is somewhat in a huge growth or emergency, and it needs more of your time. And then there's other times that you need the discipline to be like, hey, things are good. I can actually take that vacation or come in
That's
a
right.
little late to the office. And we need to be able to flex a little bit with the seasons, right?
Mhm.
Or there's times your wife might need you more. And it's like, hey, she's going through
That's
some
right.
health concerns or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I've got to prioritize that in this season, right? Life
She could be
doesn't
going through
stay
a midlife
static.
crisis.
It doesn't stay static at all. What we're coming to the end here. I know you've given me a lot of time already. One of the questions I like to ask is just any favorite recommendations on books, things that you've read, and it
Ooh.
could be personal, could be business related.
Well, look, for me, books, I read the stuff that my dad gives me. He's a commodities trader. So I know a little bit about that. In business, look, I was lucky when I sold the 3D printer company, I was in my mid 20s. I got to work pretty much directly for the CEO of 3D Systems.
Hmm.
He was in his absolute prime making deals. I'm a guy that latched on to making deals very quickly. It gets I like doing it. It gets my brain going. And it's big stuff. So I got to do that for 3-4 years, really in a corporate development way. And so that's really kind of where I got my it's from real life. I mean, when I was in the university, I dropped out after like the first few months. Started a freight brokerage company because at the university they told me to get an internship at a freight. Gave me some. The owner of that company put the book on my table and said how to be a freight broker. I'm like, all right, great, let's figure this out. I probably read a chapter or something, and then I just called a few people, and we got a deal of a load of freight, and here's a truck, and it's going to do. You make the margin in between. I did one deal, and then I went and I opened up a freight brokerage, and then I left school, and that's it. So it just depends.
Yeah. So the point I'm hearing is that nothing replaces real life experience.
Nothing replaces real life experience. You can look at a textbook and it can make so much sense to you. Nothing replaces real life. That will give you that gut. That will give you that thing. I know I'm right there. I don't know why yet, but that's one of them. It makes you smarter. You learn faster.
Yeah.
It's like I'm 12. I'm going to play in the 18 and up tennis match. It's going to be real difficult for the first few years, but I'll probably get real good. So
yeah. Is there anything looking back? This is not about like actual regret, but is there anything like if there were another version of you, a little you coming up in his career, that you would give any specific advice to?
100%. The main advice I would give is stay intensely organized. Intensely organized. And I have a major difficulty doing that right now even. But the more organized you get, the more you're able to see the clarity and the things that you should be doing for your business, because it's very easy, at least for me, you can get stuck into a mode. By the way, a lot of founders go through this depressive and things like that, including me. It happens. It's just cycles. It is what it is. You're stuck on a thing. You're a problem solver, but a different kind of problem.
Yeah.
You got to get it done. You can't figure it out yet. You're going to grind it through. You're going to be depressed. So it's yeah.
Organized how? When you say intensely organized?
Organized in every which aspect of your, you can know everything about your company, but I mean, organized with everything that you do, or you're going to get stuck doing tasks that are not really a priority that they should be. Like little things like that.
Yeah.
And little things like that add up.
Yeah.
So, like automation for 3D printing, it saves time.
So, but it sounds like organization for the sake of awareness. That like
100%.
You'd be aware
Absolutely.
that's not as important as this because I was able to look at it. I was organized enough to look at it. Is that kind of what it is?
For me, it's you want to be as efficient as possible. You want to just get it even better and better and better. Want to automate more and more. It's part of that life cycle of a company.
Yeah. And
when it stops, that's a problem. So
yeah, that's awesome, Gil.
You're always trying to be efficient. I mean, that's what they all do, right? I mean, they're trying to be better, and So
yeah, I love it. That's great advice. Well, Gil, thank you for your time. This has been fascinating.
Thank you.
A really interesting look into where I believe you are on the forefront of where so much is going in that world. I appreciate you taking the time.
So I might be late.
No, it sounds like.
But, if you look at a chart from Google Trends, the last thing, Google Trends on 3D printing, I sold the company in 2011. I'm sorry, 2011. And at that time, I was the only fully assembled printer out there for consumers. Amazon didn't sell anything, So with that though, when you look at that on that Google Trend chart, the curve already went up. We were late. Somehow we were late.
Wow.
And so it's really interesting when you look at things from different perspectives and you say, well, how are we late? Well, those kits took up a lot. We were late. The trend had already started. The words had already gone in there. So, we're very excited to redefine what the word Cobot means.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Founders, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and hop into our monthly founder email so we can ensure you stay on the edge of peak performance and massive business results.